I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. One day, I'll be looking back on this and I'll say, I'm so happy that you said you would stay. There were times I know that I was crazy, fraying at the edges and you saved me. I'm losing count of chances that you gave me. You're laughing at me dancing really badly and telling me the reasons why you'd gladly do it all again. 'Cause I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Well, hey, words can never adequately convey everything you're giving to me today. But holding you is better than a holiday, and leaving you, I dread it like exam day. So at the risk of sounding kinda risque, everything to now has been the foreplay. Darling, I would follow you to Norway, or anywhere you want it. 'Cause I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. One day, when we're getting wrinkly and our hair's grey, a rusty old banger in the driveway, one of us will maybe wear a toupee. Amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. One day, when we're getting wrinkly and our hair's grey, a rusty old banger in the driveway, one of us will maybe wear a toupee, but I will be in love with you.
The hand is up.
Welcome back, everybody. What a good to know that you're amazing, because it's true. So super true. And before we're going to dive into some amazing content and really bridge the gap between the teaching points and the story blocks and how you're going to combine them together and really create a transformational foundation ground where you're bringing people to the next level, I first want to open up this moment to hear some wins. It seems like every single one of you have been crushing it this week, and we would love to hear it. So who would love to share a win? Let's do it clear and concise to get in momentum and to get that speaking muscle up. So you know, in every moment, in every place where someone asks, would you like to share? You know you're ready. Who would love to go first? Come on, we won this super fast. It's always going to be you. Who wants to go first? All right, Rocky. You're on mute, man.
Oh, okay. Well, I was unmuting myself. You unmuted me. I said, I got my homework done this time.
Nice.
And I've done it, but I didn't do it last Wednesday, and that was my fault. So, because
You've
I
done
had some
well.
amazing breakthroughs and we really talked what we talked about yesterday's community meeting was what when we were in the breakout room is what well, let's see, what's her name? Yeah, Mauricia. Well, that's what we were talking about, breaking up, changing my dialogue. So she was
Yes.
helping me out last week, and I didn't give her the recognition for that. So
Beautiful. And that's what we talked about last week as well, right? Like, how are you going to up level the way you tell stories in a way that really attracts people and make sure that they're engaged the whole entire time is by leveling up the way we speak. And one way to do that is through dialogue. And everybody in this room has access to the Monday calls. Yesterday, we used Colin as an example. It was a very much different way of saying, hey, my brother was very competitive versus when we played baseball, basketball, and ping pong, my brother looked me in the eye dead straight and said, Colin, man, I'm gonna crush you again. Right? There's a very different way of understanding how to speak about certain stories by leveling up the way we talk about them. Beautiful. Anyone else? What's a win? Jeremiah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, my win is using the concepts of dialogue and some of the video concepts of just being more present, more, I guess, grounded and slowing down a little bit while practicing my speech. So I feel like I have a good foundation for my 10-minute talk that I have at the end of the month. So it's a big win for me. It's now repetition and getting real confident with it. So ideally, I don't want to use any slides. I'd like to deliver it with just being naked up there and going for it.
That's beautiful. The best way to really paint a picture is not by showing pictures,
let's chat. What are you trying to do?
describing them.
Raise my
Describing the pictures. And when people ask me, like, when do you use slides? Because sometimes it will be useful. I would always say, and this is a fun one for you, Jeremiah, is always start without. Create your talk like you don't have any. And then we're going to look, okay, would there be any point where the engagement level drops down? Or somehow, while listening, you're listening, and then it just drops. And this is through practice also for different audience, right? You feel it drop. You see it drop, you acknowledge it drop, and then we can see, okay, what can we put there to fix this? Could this be a question? Could this be, because there's a lot of different ways to engage people, right? This was one of them. They're right. You're all nodding your head. You're back in, right? There's all these nuances, and sometimes that can be a slide. And the combination of the two can be even more powerful. But we want to do that after. We don't want to assume like we're gonna look like this and we're gonna read the slides, share the stories. So that's a beautiful order. I love it. I'm looking
Great.
forward to the video.
Thank you.
Carmen, you raised your hand. A win.
I really appreciated when Mauricio gave his presentation. You went through and identified the 3 buckets of things that he described. And so that was really good for me. I
Yeah.
was paying attention.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And this is how it all crafts together, right? Like, in order for us to be a transformational speaker, we're not just focused on what information are we going to get across, but what is actually the outcome that we want for our audience at the end. So how are you going to craft that end result That is by making sure you do have teaching points, and then you attach stories to these teaching points, and the right stories to pick have different lenses, right? We talked about the 3 C's. Who remembers them? You can put them in the chat. What are the 3 C's about? The 3 C's are what?
Coolness, community.
Nice. And one that your audience loves the most, probably Jeremiah? Or at least
Credibility.
credibility.
Yeah.
Right? So coolness, community, and credibility. And we want to make sure they're always all there. Why? And this is the most important one, because it's not just a stupid framework to follow. It's an understanding of thinking. And the vehicle is the tool, but it is the tool, not the outcome. Why do we want to include all 3 of them? Who wants to go? You can just unmute yourself and talk.
To influence them, to build rapport, and then help transform them.
Yes, to really build rapport, right? Because that was that's okay. In order to really build rapport, we want to do it through a logical point of view and an emotional point of view, because people buy through emotions, but they justify logically. And in order for us to activate both areas of the brain, where the prefrontal cortex is there, the amygdala is there, all the pieces are dancing together. That's why we want to use 3 types of stories, where some stories are more covering the logical part and some stories are more connecting to the emotional part. All of them trigger the different senses, and the reason why that's so beneficial is that the information that you're sharing is not just stored in one part of the brain, but actually 7 parts of the brain, because the brain doesn't know what's real or not. So when you share it like people are experiencing it, they're connecting your information to the other senses that get activated through listening. Can I get two thumbs up if that makes sense? So when you're using storytelling, activate more parts of the brain, your factual information will also stay longer. So it's not just to get them in an emotional state, to build that rapport so they take action. It is also to make sure that what you share actually sticks and they remember later on. So there's a lot of reasons why we do what we do, and sometimes it sounds very simple, and that is my passion, is to make it so stupid simple that it's really hard to not do. But there's a lot of reasons behind all of this. Beautiful. Colin, what's the win for you, man?
Yeah, you heard my wins yesterday, Larry. But yeah, I think my biggest win was the talk that I had last Monday. It was kind of the first time that I sort of put into practice what we've been learning over the last few weeks. So I included a lot more dialogue throughout my talk, and I even changed around the order a little bit and used some of the linking phrases that you sort of mentioned throughout the course. And yeah, the second win then was that I revised the course again, and picked up on a few things that I'd missed out the first time round. And yeah, just kind of finding it really, really beneficial. I'm going to go through the course a lot of times, because when you watch it once, you take in as much as you can, but I found the second time that it's really starting to hit home. And the third win then was that I was added 5 stories to Notion. A couple of the stories I haven't ever talked about before, so looking to add them in the coming weeks. I have a couple of speaking opportunities over the next month, and a couple of podcasts as well. So yeah, just looking forward to putting into practice what we've all been learning.
That's beautiful. And one thing I want to highlight with you, Colin, is with the chronological order, and this is for everybody. Hello, Hannah. When we're talking about the chronological order, right? We just talked about, like, why do we do what we do? What truly is transformational speaking? And when we want to create that emotional rapport with people so they actually take action upon what we say, we want to make sure that they're engaged the entire time. So logically, while we're thinking, oh my God, I want to tell my story, right? Whatever that is for you, it comes from a logical chronological, this comes first, then this comes. But that is not true transformation. True transformation is when we can bring people on an emotional level and use the 3 different C's to facilitate it. So the logical part and the emotional part are both activated. So it's beautiful that you're integrating, and it is still a skill, right? Just be graceful with yourself that if it doesn't happen the first time, you're maybe like now instead of unable and unaware, you're like unable but aware. You know, that's a really big step, and step by step you come to the next level. So it's absolutely beautiful. Hannah, what can we celebrate with you today? What is a win from last week? You've been crushing it, I saw online. Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
All right. Win would be that I remembered that we had a meeting today and just showed up. So I just walked in from the gym. Sorry about that. And oh, I didn't work on my speaking videos this week or my stories. But I have some wins in my other businesses, getting my license for lending and getting an executive assistant hired to help me so I can really start prioritizing some of these important things.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And the part of all of this, by the way, because this is why this is 8 weeks, not like a one-day crash thing. What happens a lot is I put like commands, like I asked questions. We're talking about prompts. We're talking about stories. So what's happening, even while you're not really aware of it, is your subconscious is start to become more aware of like, okay, what stories did I kind of forget? Like on some point you will have a teaching moment and you will think, okay, now I know how to attach a story to it, how I combine it, how to create an open loop, and how to make the transition. And in order for you to come up with a story, it will take so much less effort because you've been priming yourself for it. So for everybody who sometimes feels behind, or, you know, I've come in later, or I've done not completely all of this, just know that this is the process. We're on the train and we're in the right direction. So you're right here where you're supposed to be. Beautiful. And congrats on all the other wins. Nilsa, your quick win before we're diving into the topic of this week, which is going to be the connection between the teaching and the story, how you're going to bridge that gap.
A quick win. And Lori's Public Academy last cohort, I met Jamie, a fitness coach, and she's taken me through a journey of switching over my habits to starting early in the day. But the win here is, the experience is amazing, but the win here is when we say yes to ourselves, when we show up, when we decide to be in these groups of people, it's more, we get more out of it than I mean, I'm learning public speaking, but I also met somebody who's taken me on a journey of fitness who has switched over my whole tax season and to not being overwhelmed and just taking control in the morning of my self-care so I can show up for my taxes. So
Well,
that is my win.
super good. And I love how you're including different C's just in the way you're speaking now. And this is the cool part, right? This is what we talked about yesterday. By the way, and I want to reiterate, everybody here has access to the Monday calls as well, right? So that's a bit the bigger group, and it's really nice Q&A rambling on. So whenever you have questions or specific things, that's where we do role plays and Q&A as well. So what we're going to talk about today is the connection of stories and teaching points. Because what we just were saying at the beginning of our call, right? The true transformation is when we are able to get people from where they are to that next level where they're saying, you know what? I felt so in connection with you, Nilsa, Colin. I want to know what's next. Whatever that is, right? Whether that's working with you with real estate, whether that's doing stuff with loans, whether that is doing your taxes, whether that is, oh my God, like I know other places where you could speak. Is it okay if we collaborate on this? Whatever that is, that people are getting curious on what that is. And to do that, we have to ramp them up through stories and connect with them in an emotional way and show the other people why we're credible and why they can trust us. But we also want to make sure that there's people in the audience taking notes like crazy. Overall, there's like 3 types of listeners. I think we talked about this in the first week. 3 types of listeners. Who remembers them? I'll reveal one. The first one is the visual learners. The visual learners. The visual learners are, they have a preferred way of listening to something that is a bit fast, that's nice and loud, that has a lot of experience, where they can see it in front of them and they are totally into the vibe. Just with a raise of hands, who recognizes this a lot within themselves? I'll put on 2. Right? All right, that's the first one. Who remembers now I revealed the first one, what a second or a third could be? Who remembers? Carmen.
One is, the next one is auditory.
Nice.
And the next one, do you want the second one? Next one?
Do you remember what auditory means? Like, what are characteristics of this type of person based on the preferred learning style?
The auditory, I work with special needs for 30 plus years. And the auditory is, they have to have that vocalization for it to connect to the brain.
Yes.
Just like the visual is. And then the third one, do you want that one?
Yes, go on.
Okay, it has to be a combination of all of them. It has to be visual, auditory, and a kinesthetic.
Kinesthetic. Very good. And what are the characteristics of kinesthetic?
Kinesthetic is touch, action, build it, create it, a combination.
Very good. And when we look at it from a communication point of view, right, the auditorians, the way they speak is also, and this is very extreme black and white, right? Like, there's always gray, but just to make the point here, auditorians are mostly, they love sequence. They love numbers, they love order, and they even speak a little bit like this. They love it when it is like this. Who loves order? Who would be the one who's asking questions at the end? Okay, but how am I going to implement this? What's the how? Who recognizes themselves? There's not been a single person of numbers that I've met at the Nilsa, right? And it's super fascinating because, you know, like one previous cohort, Nilsa, you were giving feedback to other people and you said, I don't hear numbers in your speech. You're not talking to me, right? And when someone else did, you felt more in connection and rapport with that person just by using numbers and logic, right? So when we know there's these 3 types of people in our audience, we want to make sure we're connecting with all of them. And just to finish it up, the kinesthetics, when we connect it to communication, the speed of the communication would be a little slower, right? They'd love to digest the information, they love to feel what they're going through. And this is something that I personally really have to keep in mind, because I'm a lot of overwhelm for this group of people if I'm not aware of the way I talk and I just do it like I'm riffing, because I'm overall quite fast. Who recognizes more with a kinesthetic? This is very interesting. So the visual speaker attracts more visual people in the group. This means that this is also something for me to even further develop, because preferably we want to speak to all of them, right? So it's really nice to know that what we're going to talk about today is going to be very, very satisfying for the auditorians in the room. Because what we're going to do is we're going to connect the story to something that probably, and again, this is very extreme, right? There's always gray, you're always multiple. It doesn't work like this in life ever. But again, just to make the point, is when we're talking stories and where it becomes vivid, then which of these 3 is most like satisfied in their own preferred learning style? The auditorian, the kinesthetic, or the visual? Which one of the three? You can say it out loud. I'm lip reading.
Well,
Which
I've
one?
always considered myself an audiovisual learner because I have a good memory. So
There and you said, right? Like there's great. So you're always multiple, but there's always a preferred learning style. So based on stories, telling them in an engaging way, which of the three learning styles is most engaged from a communication preferred way of listening? Which of the three? You can say it out loud.
visual.
Visual. Yeah, visual. Visual. Absolutely. So now what we're doing is we're connecting the logic to the story. The logic to the story. So we're going to make the bridge. Now, when you are speaking, what we talked about, we're not creating one perfect script, but we have a clear aim in mind, right? You have a clear aim in mind. Now, in order for you to achieve that aim for your audience, do you have, and for everybody who already went to that part of the course, you know, there's 3 certain steps that you can distill where people are now, where you want to bring people towards, and then what that bridge is to get them to that point. Those are 3 steps. Now, why 3 steps? Because you probably have 20 steps that people can take, 100 steps, or maybe one big step. Why do we want to use the number 3? Why is that preferred? Anyone? Carmen?
It can be remembered more.
It can be remembered more. Jeremiah, want to add something to that?
Yeah, I thought that's chunking is the probable way of we're going to be able to remember. That's why phone numbers are 3 and 4 digits. Too many bits of information, or you can't retain it.
Yes, they did fun research, and 6 to 7 is the maximum amount that we can kind of comprehend, but we're not making it still very easy. Exactly what you're saying. We want to chunk it down, and 3 is a number that the brain just really loves. So I always say, give them 3 action steps, 3 points, 3 most important things to remember, 3-step framework, a 3F formula, the 3 C's, right? There's always like this 3. So no matter what the whole bandwidth of knowledge that you have, just train yourself to figure out, okay, how can I say exactly what I want to say, not compromise, but figure out a way to make it really easy for my audience. Because again, when people are listening, their whole body is still there to survive. And in order to survive, we want to save our calories. And when we have to remember a lot of complicated things, we have to pay with too many calories. So we're not prioritizing, so we're forgetting. So what you want to think of is, what are my 3 teaching points that bring people from where they are now to where I want them to go? As a speaker, you're the leader of attention. Where do you want them to go? Where are they now? And where would you like them to go? I'm going to put 3 minutes on the clock, and I want you to just journal down, what will those 3 be for you? What will those 3 be for you? And force yourself to make some decisions, and feel also free to write down multiple 3s, but really choose 3. 2 thumbs up if it makes sense. If it's completely clear what the exercise is about.
And it's 3 lessons, 3 points that they want to that I'm communicating to them, teaching them.
Correct. So where they are for your audience and where you want them to bring after 10 minutes, what are the specific teaching points that you're going to facilitate them through? We're not talking about scuba diving or anything. We're talking about 3 specific teaching points that the audience will know, oh, this is how I get to the new.
Got it.
Everybody still writing? Want a little bit more time or you're good? Thumbs up if you're good. 1 more minute. Like if I don't respond, then I'll just get my extra time. Okay, we go to 1 minute more, 30 seconds. Grade your 3 teaching points. What is that bridge going to be? Factual information that is going to satisfy the people who want to take their notes and think, oh, these are the 3 steps. All right. That was the time. 3 teaching points. I want 2 people. I want to hear the 3 steps from 2 people. Who would love to share? Jeremiah, you already unmuted yourself. Would you mind sharing what the 3 steps are that you want to facilitate people through to bring them from where they are now to that newer version where they will ask, man, like what's next? How can I work with you? What are the 3 steps?
Yeah. So my talk is about how to invest with the right partners. So the first teaching point is that I want to teach that the wealthy invest on the inside of deals and not with the public. They do private deals on their own and it's not advertised everywhere. The second one is the person you invest in is significantly more important than the asset or the opportunity you invest in.
Yeah.
And how to pick that right person. And then the last thing is investing with emotion can be gambling. If you're just chasing returns, investing is disciplined, strategic, and patient.
Okay, this is awesome. We're going to dive into this a little bit more. I would love to hear it from one other person. So we're starting to understand like how is this for other people so you can refine what your own 3s are. And better yet, because this is the fun part, right, Jeremiah, this is a talk. But next time you will be in front of a different audience. There will be a different topic. There will be a different through line. There will be different 3 teaching points. So it really is about how do you now create the now, create the new, pick the 3s, pick the right stories that facilitate the transformation so people feel logically and emotionally satisfied and they are curious what's next. That's really what this is all about. So it really is the skill of like how can I figure out the 2? Why did you not use this one? Or why did you leave out that one, right? That is what we're doing. Colin, you unmuted yourself?
Yeah. So 3 typical teaching points that I would speak about in order actually is number 1, to not let anyone decide or dictate your future. Number 2 is to not shy away from failure or to not fear failure. And number 3 is to trust the struggle, trust your struggle.
I love this. Okay, do we see the difference, right? The one that Jeremiah was sharing, invest in people from the inside. There's a difference between a person and an asset, and there's emotion versus gambling. And this is very practical, right? This is very, how am I going to make decisions on investing? This is very practical. Colin, you have a more, let's say, an emotional message, right? Your message are more regarding decide your future yourself. Failure is a good thing. Trust the struggle, right? It doesn't matter on what side of the spectrum you are. And sometimes we're having these big, like motivational messages. And then we're like, yeah, but how am I going to define like 3 steps from this? This is exactly how you do it. Right. And then I had people ask me, but Lori, how do I know that is fear of failure? Should it not be preventing mistakes? What do you think? Right? And it doesn't really matter. That's what this is all about. You just want to pick 3, and sometimes it can be nice to find alliterations. So when we're talking about the 3 C's, I could also have said it's 3 C's and a U. It's credibility, community, and uniqueness. But then I thought, okay, how can I say unique in a way that also fits me? I'm like, that's cool. I say it all the time. So this will be 3 C's. So it's easier to understand. What you can think of, can there be somehow like a bucket that will help people remember them? Because when I say the 3 C's, you're able to come back also because we talked a lot about it. You listened to it, but also because it's like 3 C's. Oh, wait, there was another one. There was 3 circles. I made you visualize it. I made you put it into a picture. I made you think of different stories from each topic, which makes it easier to remember as well. So how can you help people remember these 3 points? So when they say at the end of a story, oh my God, I was listening to Hannah. She was one of the 10, but I remember what she said because she had 3 really clear points and she made it so visual, so everybody still remembers them. And there was like one word or one caption or one through line or one sentence that she kept saying over and over again that was fitting with a through line. So now we're creating like one experience instead of like these loose stories. Does it make sense in a factual base, right? Sometimes in the implementation, it gets more, it becomes more of a dance and an art where there's multiple ways to get to the end result. But this is what we're doing. We're creating a transformation. There is a situation where people are. There's a new situation. There's 3 teaching points. And now we're going to pick our stories that are going to connect with these 3 teaching points. We're creating stories that make sure that all C's are part of it because we want to connect on a personal level. But we're also going to pick stories that actually teach what we want to teach and get people, through the finish line. So how is this going to work out? Well, there's multiple ways. What you can think of is okay, I want to talk about trust the struggle in Colin's situation. What story do I have of trust the struggle? Let's do this in a role play. Colin, if you would give me the name of the story, I don't need to hear the whole story, but if I would pull up your Notion, your story library, then what could be a story that says trust struggle? How can you explain that point by just one story? What would the name of that story be in your story library?
Yeah, so it was just moved to Slovakia. So it was, yeah.
There you go. So what we're doing now, we have our now, we have our new, we have our 3 teaching points, and we can think of, okay, in order to make this point, what story connects with this? Moving to Slovakia. Great, I'm writing this down. Moving to Slovakia. All right. Failure. Colin, that was your second teaching point. Could you find another story that would facilitate this specific teaching point? What name of the story from your story library could that potentially be?
Shirt and tie.
What is the name?
Shirt and tie.
What is that?
So what is the story about?
Yeah, just like a couple of bullet points. Like what
So my mum and dad, from the age of 4, used to leave my uniform, so my shirt and tie, out on the bed every morning, even though they knew there was no chance that I could put it on myself. But I tried, of course, to put the shirt and tie on every morning. And then by the age of like 7 or 8, I was finally able to dress myself.
Okay, freaking amazing. And then you have the third one, which is decide your future. In order to facilitate that transformation, what story could be part of that?
2 for that one, actually, off the top of my head. But the first one is probably the most powerful, in my birth.
Birth, yeah. And the other one?
The other one was speaking to my guidance counselor before I sort of embarked on my senior high school. So basically speaking about the university course that I would potentially do.
Okay, let's for now pick the birth one. Okay, everybody. This is an exercise for everybody. This is what this truly is all about. Colin creates a transformation. There is a situation where people are now, and at the end, they will know, okay, I decide my future. I am leaning into failure. Failure is success. And when I'm struggling, I know I'm the right path because that this is my lesson. This is where I need to lean in, and this is just where I want to put in more reps to feel comfortable with this uncomfort. Now he has 3 teaching points. Great. Now the question that we all want to ask ourselves is, how are we going to facilitate these 3 teaching points through stories? So he's going through his story library, as all of you are going to do, and you're going to decide, which story am I going to pick? Now in this process, there's multiple ways we did one, and I want to analyze this all with you. He chose for the trust and the struggle story moving to Slovakia. He chose for the failure story, the shirt and the tie, so with his parents. And then decide your future, a birth story. Now let's together analyze different lenses. First and foremost, you can put, let's do this just like with our heads. Are there all, based on what you've heard, nice stories that actually facilitate the point? Yes or no? So in order for him to get his aim across, did he pick stories that will get his aim across on a content level? Yes or no? We've got some thumbs, we've got some question marks, we've got some really interesting heads. Okay, most of the people are saying yes. Carmen, you say no. Would you mind explaining yourself?
All right, let me do it.
The question, repeat the question. You said, is it based on?
He chose different stories. Do these stories facilitate the transformation that he wants to create? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, yes. So we have 100% anonymous that based on the lens, did Colin pick the right stories in order to get his transformation across? 100% score, big round of applause. What's 100% score right there. You are amazing. That's why we start with a song every single time. Second lens we want to go through. The 3 C's. Are the 3 C's all represented when he wants to get his aim across? Let's start with community. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Was there a community piece in the way he chose his stories? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Almost unanimous. Some are hesitant. Okay, I agree. I agree. He's talking about the tie, and when he explained the shirt and the tie, he was talking about his family, and then he can go into the relationship we have with them. So there's a little understanding about, okay, there's some community there. Let's go to coolness. Was there coolness? Yes or no? That was fast. All unanimous. What was so cool? Nilsa, what was so cool about Colin and his stories? What did we learn about the coolness, the uniqueness, the specificity about him as a person, so we start to understand personality?
That he's oh my God, what's the word in English? He doesn't take no for an answer. He's going forward. He's moving forward. He has the energy, the vision, the stamina. Nothing's gonna hold him back.
And what proof did he give for you to say that? What stories did he specifically choose in order for him to create that experience for you?
Well, yesterday he gave the story with how he won the Olympic. I was taking notes. I didn't hear what he said this time. I know he met with his college counselor. I know his mom put his clothes on the bed so he can dress up himself, but I missed the third one that he talked about.
Carmen?
Slovakia. He went to Slovakia.
Slovakia. Yes, he went to Slovakia. Yes, yes.
So he picked a story and this is the cool part, right? About like discovering what everybody thinks, because everybody has their own scope of mind, and that's the point. That's why we want to tell stories so everybody has their own experience. Slovakia, it's pretty cool, right? There's this magic there. Now on a credibility piece, thumbs up if we felt that he was credible, thumbs down if we think that could be improved. We've got some half-halves there. Jeremiah, why do you think it was good?
Well, that he's living the life, that these stories display that he transformed through the obstacle. And then the story displays, to me, a visual image of him overcoming the obstacle. And that was what he wanted to that's how he wants to transform the audience.
Yes. Right? So in the Slovakia story, there's coolness, there's probably some community, there's also some credibility there. Right? Again, these tools are there to help you facilitate. They're not like this super mandatory thing that you always have to think. We have to understand why we do this. Right? Rocky, you thought this could be improved. Why did you think that? I don't dare to touch your button anymore, man, but we cannot hear you yet.
Sorry. I think I was saying that knowing more about him than just this being the first talk or whatever it may be, you know, knowing what he's accomplished so far, I'm just thinking there might be something from a credibility standpoint that he might make that a little more about how he succeeded. So that was just my thought. So
yeah, okay. And what is one thing we all know about Colin, where he's absolutely incredibly credible in that we did not hear yet?
he won the Olympics.
Yeah, right? So there's a big piece in the credibility bucket that is maybe one of the most obvious ones that we would love to hear about that is not part of the talk right now. So now, and this is why we're doing this together, you want to think for yourself. You wrote down 3 teaching moments. Now you can think, okay, what stories could facilitate the transformation of this specific teaching moment, while at the same time, I'm making sure that all my buckets are checked off. So for example, when Colin, we start to puzzle and mix and match, you might want to, for example, just to show you all how it's done. When you have 3, let's give some visual things, right? You have 3 teaching moments, 3 building blocks. All of them can represent one story. So the future story could be birth, could be totally. The future story could also be the Slovakia vacation. And now for this teaching point, you can choose which story am I going to choose this time? Different story block, different point. Failure, lean into failure, tie the shirt. But now we notice, okay, maybe you want to do some ping pong in it. Is there a failure ping pong story?
For sure, many of them.
Sure. So now we go to trust the struggle. Vacation to Slovakia. Could you make a trust the struggle story about credibility? Could you make a trust the struggle on ping pong? Could you make a trust the story on travel? Could you make a trust the story on community? Right? And now we're starting to play. Because what we want to do is we want to A, get the transformation across, and B, share stories that share a wide range of perspective of who we are as a person. Now, what we're going to do in a minute is we're going to brainstorm about, okay, what stories could I facilitate my 3 points with? Just for the sake of people who have a very creative mind, I also want to share what is possible. So let's just say you have 3 teaching points, right? What you can decide, let's just say, Hannah, I will choose you as an example. You went to Hawaii. Let's just say that the through line of your whole entire talk is going to be Hawaii. So instead of thinking, I'm going to pick 3 different stories that all facilitate this one teaching point. I'm just going to say, I'm going to bring people on experience to go to Hawaii, and this is how I'm going to bring every single point across. But what you can do is you can say, let's just say one of your teaching moments is also around trust the struggle, right? That there was something in Hawaii that you struggled with. Let's just say that the airplane didn't go well, right? And now that reminded you of something you actually experienced in the real estate space. And now you bring home a credibility story, and then you bring people back to the Hawaii. So while I was walking there on the beaches, blah, 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 blah. This is the art. This is where it gets funky and complicated, but this can also be easy and fun. You can decide on which one you're going to choose. What we're going to do now is we're going to take 5 minutes, and I want you to think of what are the stories that I'm going to pick to facilitate these 3 teaching points, where all the 3 C's will be part of the process too. Gonna get 2 thumbs up if it's completely clear what the exercise is. Milsa, you have a question?
Explain it one more time, please.
You wrote down 3 teaching points, correct? What you want to think of now is what are 3 stories that you can use to facilitate each one of them, and that also you have all 3 C's part of that process. Yeah? All right. 5 minutes. Let's go. Oh, Carmen, sorry.
Let me repeat this. We pick out 3 teaching points or 3 stories.
You just wrote teaching points, right? It was a previous exercise.
Okay.
So you have 3 teaching points to bring people from where they are to where they want to go.
Okay.
And now we want to pick 3 stories that facilitate that transformation. And those stories are also on different perspectives of our C's. So one will be community, one will be credibility, and one will be coolness. Got it. All right, let's go. Write down what you're writing. Finish the sentence. Before we go to the next step, which is that as transformational speakers, you're going to share this. What we're going to do is we're going to go into breakout rooms. We will be there for 15 minutes and you're going to see one other person there. And what you're going to do is you're going to share my aim, my transformation that I'm creating for my audience is this. The 3 teaching points that I want to get across are these. And the 3 stories that I have in mind using for that are these. Just what me and Colin did together with all of you. Until now, can I have 2 thumbs up that this is completely clear? Super. And I see the chat. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
Good luck. So you're going to share the transformation, share the 3 story points, share the 3 teaching points, and then share what story is connected to that. Okay, that's number 1. You're both going to take time and brainstorm with each other if what you have now feels like as a cohesive whole. When you have time left, which you all will have, what you're going to do is you're going to pick one teaching moment and one story, and then you're going to practice delivering that to each other. There's no perfection within this. That's just practice. Who would love to repeat what we're going to do in your own words to clarify and verify this for everybody? If not, then I was not clear enough. Okay, Nilsa.
We're going to go to a breakout room, 15 minutes. We're going to split the time. We're going to discuss what we're aiming for and our transformation with the audience. We're going to discuss our 3 teaching points, and we're going to look for stories. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're just developing something. So we're going to try to fit our stories with the 3 teaching points.
Correct. So you're first sharing what names of the stories you have in mind, so the other person can check. Are any of these 3 C's missing? Does this feel like a cohesive whole? Sometimes, can we agree that when you look for yourself, it seems so obvious, or you actually feel super stuck? But then when someone else looks at it, you're like, oh, that opens up a lot for me. That is the goal for this. The goal is that you get new insights for yourself through someone else's lens. The goal is also that you're going to listen to someone else and you're going to be like, oh my God, just because I listened to you, I got new ideas for me. So you're both going to do that. You probably will need 3 minutes per person just to do that. Then when you both done that and gave each other feedback, you're going to pick one of the teaching points and you're going to practice that story. Cool? Let's go. You will be in breakout rooms. Somehow. Here we go. Perfect. They will be open in this. You have 15 minutes in total. Who's in charge to make sure that both of you get the right time? You are. So make sure that you got the time you need, okay? There we go. We go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. was it?
It was awesome. I think I accidentally clicked leave breakout room. It knocked me out, but
It was good.
yeah.
That's awesome. You were with Nilsa, right?
Yeah, I accidentally clicked leave like a few seconds before I think we were supposed to. I didn't mean to, but
I cannot put you back, otherwise I could have.
that's okay. It was almost done anyway.
Gonna come. Yeah, she's gonna come in 10 seconds.
Okay.
Then we're gonna integrate.
Perfect.
It's fun to really practice it.
Yeah, it is.
Welcome back, everybody. Who had a good time in the breakout room? Yes, I want to hear some insights and some ahas. Who would love to share? Hannah, we were just having a conversation. Would you mind sharing what your biggest insight was just based on this practice round?
Just yeah, trying to tie the right story to the right teaching point and what the best way to get that across is, and putting, thinking about what bucket it would fall into as well.
Did you have something that based on, in this case with Nilsa, right? Like listening to Nilsa or getting feedback from it, you changed or pivoted or something? Or was it more the awareness of what you've already done? Like what was an
Just, yeah, the awareness and just actually thinking about, does this line up with this teaching point? What bucket does this fall into? Does it support the aim? And just being intentional about the words that are coming out of our mouth.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Who else had an aha moment or an experience that they want to share? So, same breakout?
Yes, well, for me, it was fascinating getting to meet Hannah, getting to meet her story, and me in my head putting the pictures as she was explaining her aiming points. I started putting in my head, seeing the pictures of the flow of her keynotes, and then just connecting in the room where mentors are big in her life and in mine, and that's part of the transformation that we're going to teach our audience.
Yeah, so good. One thing that I'm hearing you say is when I was listening to someone else, it was actually quite easy for me to see the flow, right? For whom was it somehow easier to listen to someone else and see the logic there than sometimes to think it for yourself? Couple of you, right? Sometimes it just really helps to hear the stories from someone else so you understand it better for yourself. Carmen, you wanted to share something as well, I saw?
I really connected with what Colin was talking about, and he did it very specifically, because I needed to hear the directions again. I'm a, multitask learner, multisensory learner. So what I realized is that when I do webinars and I need to put my directions or my words on the screen, because there's
Closed
people
caption.
like me that don't retain all that real fast. I have to, so if it was in the chat, so I could put it in the chat for the person if I want them to do a breakout room or something like that. And Colin also, we were dying to hear about Slovakia, so he went into that. And boy, it hit home. It really did, because he taught it, and I connected emotionally with his story.
Yeah, so good. And what's going to be fun throughout this whole journey is there's like today we really talked about like what are your 3 teaching points and how are you going to make sure that the right story is attached to each teaching moment and that the 3 C's are all representative. But what I just facilitated, like as an example, Hannah, with your Hawaii story, I just call it a Hawaii story. I just made it up, right? What you could also have is think, oh, this story just hits so home for people. How can I connect that story to a teaching point? So you kind of like reverse engineer where these stories I want to use because they just really resonate with my audience. And how can you then connect it to something that's within my audience? I think, Nilsa, that's what we talked about yesterday, where you shared the Jamie story. Let's call it the Jamie story also, where I'm working out with a fitness coach and she helps me, instead of being like a night owl, to wake up at 6:30 in the morning and before I brush my teeth, start to work out first thing, right? That's a complete different shift for you. And then I said, okay, that story, what 3 teaching points could it have? And then you shared, well, it's wake up early, go to the gym first, and prioritize your mental health. But then I said, okay, how can you use this specific story, but now for your, like, all the stuff that you with numbers, right? So now you can think of, okay, maybe this story I just want to talk about because it just hits home for people. It creates the community, it creates the coolness. And sometimes, you guys, it's not the story that you've been living, it's the story that you are living. True transformational speakers know how to view life and see, oh my God, this is a story that I now can utilize to facilitate a transformation for someone else. And sometimes that story happened that same day. Like, who knows a storyteller, a really vivid storyteller who can utilize everything that just happens in the now and immediately uses it? Those are the ones who can create most rapport with an audience because they truly bring something from themselves. And sometimes the story is actually just what happened in that group. So when we talked about it, Nilsa, right, we just kind of thought, okay, what if you could use that story in a way where you say, okay, who would love to get control of their finances? All right. Well, in order to do that, now the 3 steps come, right? In order to do that, you want to start at the beginning of the year, not at the end. You want to, and now you're creating 3 moments that are literally connected to your fitness story. So instead of using the fitness story as an outcome for fitness, the fitness story now becomes a representative of what you do in Texas. So what you are all going to amazingly marinate on for yourself is, what stories do you want to use in my made up story for Hannah? Will it be one big Hawaii story with 3 moments in time? Will it be 3 different stories? Connor, are you going to use the Slovakia story, the birth story, and the table tennis? Or are you going to do table tennis, Slovakia, and shirt and tie? Or is it going to be shirt and tie, something completely different? Right now you can start to puzzle. So you can either start with the teaching points and find a story, or you can pick stories that you know will really resonate and then find a way to teach that teaching point. So you reverse engineer. Does this make sense? Do we see that this is an art and not per se like just a step by step, you just riff it out, but this is the art where this all gets together. That's what this truly is about. Now, before we separate ways, couple of housekeeping items. 1, Hannah was the only one who created the video. Well, everybody pinky promised they would do it. So Hannah, I want to give you a cool opportunity for next week if you're open for it. Are you open for it?
Yeah, to do what next week?
Yeah, cool. I love that you say yes before you know it. That's kind of what we're So next week, what the cool part of if in this new revamped speaking academy is that next week, new people will join this group. So what you have the opportunity to do, Hannah, is in your own words, describe what transformational speaking means to you. So in order for you to better understand it, the best way to really understand it is to teach it to someone else. So I would love to ask you to, in your own words, describe what transformational speaking is about. And maybe, just maybe, this could be a fun exercise to actually include a story as well.
Okay.
Cool. So that is one thing. The second thing is that this group is really to help you succeed. So I don't know if everybody is aware, and that's why I want to showcase it one more time, I want to showcase this. You all have access to a type form that if you have any specific questions, you can submit them before class so I can actually review them. So for example, in Jeremiah's case, he's doing presentation really close, right? So he has a video. So what this looks like, and this is actually the way that I see it. Let me share it in the way that you will see it. You will get some questions. questions you can submit. Looks like this. Let's get your questions answered. So you just say, what's your name? What's your question? So you submit your question. And then in case there's any context necessary, you put in the context, like I'm speaking about this, or this is what I experienced in my podcast, or this is what I experienced in real life. And then if necessary, upload a YouTube video. So, and this is what this is about, we can digest it together and I can show you what we've learned and how you experience this. So if you have any information, any questions, then submit it before. I'll make sure you will get the link again, also through email, so you have all access to it and it's easy to find. So just know that this is the place where your questions will get answered. And also you all have access to the Monday calls. You're all like kind of like VIPs there. So in case you have videos or whatsoever, we can also use the Mondays to digest and integrate. So just know that when you have questions, ask them. That's the number 2. And then announcement number 3 is we are currently in week 4 of the Speaking Academy. Now, how many weeks is this?
4.
8 weeks.
Oh, 8. Yeah.
So it's 4 weeks until you're going live with your live keynote. So just know that in the next 3 weeks, we're going to build up to a place where you feel completely comfortable, or at least the next level comfortable. So you're actually going to do it. And you're going to go live on a live streaming platform that will be shown to the whole entire speaking community and everybody who will be invited to be there. Who's excited for that? On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited
You made the
to share your message? 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, who feels like excitedly, I would not like the word nervous, but like a little about it as well? That's okay. Just know that this is the process. So for now, go to the WhatsApp, create a video answering these 3 questions that we ask every single week. Number 1, and for someone who wants to play full out and put it in the chat so Carmen can read it, you will be appreciated. Number 1, what is your biggest aha moment or breakthrough that you got throughout this 90 minutes? Step number 2, what is the action step that you're going to take to get to your next level? And step number 3, who in this community are you grateful for this week and why? Let's not forget that public speaking is the number 1 fear on planet Earth. And that if you feel a little about this whole situation in week 8, that you're totally not the only one, I can assure you that. And that it's really nice to know that you're just appreciated by being you and showing up by someone in this community and you didn't even know. So who's willing to create this video this time, and actually, show your appreciation. So put it in the WhatsApp group. Next week, we will see each other, same link, might be different time, right? Based on where you are and the time changes, you got an email around that. The links in the calendar are always correct. And there will be new people, new juice in this amazing community. So we're going to rock and roll together. And we're going to hear from Hannah what transformational speaking truly is about. All right. You all, see you next time. Kicking ass.
Guys, see you later.
Ciao.